Welcome to Some of Your Parts podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, premier pelvic health expert and women's wellness warrior. Join me as we discuss women's wellness topics and discuss tips and tricks with top elite health experts, and where you'll discover that you're greater than the sum of your parts. So you're not going to want to miss this double episode with celebrity skin expert Rachel Varga. Rachel Varga is a board-certified aesthetic nurse specialist since 2011, an international clinical trainer, speaker, and academically published award-winning author in the field of plastic and aesthetic nursing. Through education on skincare, skin and laser rejuvenation, non-surgical solutions, and healing lifestyle practices, Rachel helps inspire others with her unique toolkit to navigate and strategize aging well. By blending both the inner and outer aspects of the science of beauty, Rachel believes you can become your most beautiful and radiant self. I'm so excited to be welcoming my good friend, Rachel Varga. Thank you, Rachel, for joining me on Some of Your Parts podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf. We've, you and I have known each other for quite some time now, and we've had so much fun collaborating. You were on my podcast. We were talking about the whole CBD trend and CBD in skincare. Do we love it? Do we not love it? We dug into the science of the different pathways because, you of anyone you're the first female urogynecologist in the USA. That's a big deal. And I love the work that you do. So thanks for having me today.
Well, I love the work that you do too, because I have to say that though a lot of women, they pay attention to their skin, I was one of those people who never really paid much attention until now that I'm getting older. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, like all those years I should have been preserving things.
Let's keep it clean, Dr. Betsy. Come on here.
So now I'm like slathering things on and putting stuff on, and I'm like, if they say that's going to keep my skin younger, I'm like doing it. So, you have a couple programs that you're going on, and you have a message that you're, very passionate about with just not only just skincare, but wellness. Could you go into that for us?
Yeah. One of the things I just feel really passionate about talking about right now is how can we be radiant? And this is when I think of my career as a board certified aesthetic nurse specialist, I love helping people with the science of skincare and the tech of how do we get this treatment to get this result, for example, getting rid of red acne scars, brown spots, reducing pore size, promoting collagen. What I started to clue into were what my most vibrant and radiant patients are doing. And these are women aged 60 to 90. And I was like, whoa, what's going on here? Because these people were coming to me for the first time in, those times in their lives, and they'd never done any rejuvenation before, but they were more beautiful than some of the younger girls and women that were coming to see me in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So I was like, okay, they have more photo damage. They're older, but they're just like knockouts. What's going on here? So then I just started to sort of attune to what they were doing. It's like, oh, how are you looking after yourself in regards to your exercise? And, what do you do for your mind, for your mental health, for your body, mind, spirit, energy? What's going on there? And I just started to dig into that. And what's really funny is that is actually what really started to light me up. Of course, learning about the science, because I'm a huge science nerd. I love going to conferences and learning about the latest tech and writing academic articles myself. I'm actually in the process of writing one now, and I wrote one last year I got an award on. And it's really fun, this field of regenerative medicine and anti-aging and all this, because there's a lot of positivity around it. We can very much take ownership of how we are navigating this world, how we interact with people, places, and things. We can make it a more beautiful experience just if we know how. So it's kind of like a combination, as with, interviewing some of the most forward-thinking health experts out there on what everybody's doing, from, genes to hormones to supplements to, laser therapies and all this stuff. But actually, the best stuff is the free stuff. That's really actually what I find cultivates radiance and can give the ability for a man or woman to step into a room and people be like, oh, what's going on there? I want to be around them. Why do I want to be around them? And all of this stuff. It's a really cool thing to see.
It's interesting because this kind of goes along with my message is that we can't take one part by itself and just treat that part. Basically we are greater than the sum of all of our parts.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're a person who's spending all this time on skincare, but you're not nourishing the other parts of your body, you're not going to get the results that you want. So what kind of things do you think people need to be doing other than, washing their face, slapping things on? What kind of activities or diet or what else could they be doing in their lives to make them the best that they can be?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say my top skin tips, it's consistency. We just had Katie Moore. We are live in this recording as well. And Katie Moore, she's a self-proclaimed biohacker. She asked me the best questions. And we were talking recently in my summer skin camp, which is sort of like a group training program to help people get their skin looking amazing in 6 weeks. So just in time for summer. And then there's also winter skin camp for the winter, drier, colder months with that indoor heating. So it's all about being consistent. And she said, is skin made in the kitchen like abs are made in the kitchen? And yeah, it's really that consistency of nourishing and feeding your skin, right? So, it's time for me to take my supplements today. So I won't take them live here, but I'll take them afterwards. And then putting good skincare on, doing things like dermal rolling. I have this really beautiful gold roller here. Look how stunning that is. So just there's so much that we can do to promote collagen and just give your skin what it wants, nutrient-wise, through your skincare, through what you're eating, but also what you are exposing your body, mind, spirit, and energy to. They actually all play into our cells and how things function and our hormones and what's going on there more profoundly than I think we realize at this point.
I agree. And, there's so many little things like I'm one of the unfortunate. They say that 75 to 85% of Americans are chronically dehydrated. And I am definitely like the poster child for that, even though I tell people drink more water, drink more water. And, I noticed that when I had my neck surgery not too long ago, I purposely, for healing, I was like, oh, I need to make sure I'm drinking enough water. And I was drinking more water than I've ever drank. And it was, which was the normal amount I should have been drinking. I noticed that made such a difference in my skin. And my husband's laughing at me all the time because I'd be complaining about the age of skin. He's like, you need to drink more water. And I'd be like, all right, Mr. Know-it-all, thanks. But he was right. Like just the simple act of just making sure you're hydrated can make such a big difference in the quality of your skin.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hydration is key. So one of the things that I do is when I'm drinking coffee, yes, shameless plug, I love Bulletproof Coffee because it doesn't make me jittery. It doesn't dehydrate me. And because it's funny when I'm out and about, I sound super Canadian when I say out. I know that. Well, I'm the only one, whatever. I can't do anything about it. I get that like jittery. I just get that like dehydrated feel. And hydration is key. And while we're on the topic of hydration, make sure you're drinking out of glass. Yeah. And I highly recommend that you get a filtration system installed in your sink and not to depend on those filtration systems that, have plastic everywhere. Yes, there's going to be some plastic tubing in those faucets that you can have installed, but that's what I would go for. I would go for that as opposed to say like a fridge filter, because a lot of times people just don't end up changing those out. So clean water. And what was really cool is I'm a bit of a nature babe. I live here on Vancouver Island, and the way that I stay balanced, again, when we're getting back to, being radiant, some of the things that I absolutely have to do myself are ground outside of nature. I don't know about you, but things just seem to be getting crazier and crazier. And I'm very sensitive myself. I'm definitely what you would consider a very empathic person. And I have to just remove myself. And being, this is one of my tips for being radiant, because when you are in places that make you feel good, whether it's doing an activity, say, for example, my hubby's a pro athlete, he loves exercising. That's like his church, right? And for me, I enjoy church, right? And I really enjoy getting in nature and communing with my friends and just having like really deep, beautiful conversations. So anyways, I recently went to one of my favorite places. It's Canada's gnarliest tree. And there's this beautiful stream in the park. And I was literally drinking the water. I've done it a couple times and no beaver fever yet. So I think I'll survive. But just when you start to get used to drinking really good, clean water, and then you have like a lower quality water, it's kind of like when you're used to really good coffee, clean coffee, is the mold, stuff like that. No pesticides, no additives. You get healthier, your body will start to tell you, okay, that's good for me, that's not so good for me, just based on how you feel when you're initially ingesting it or being around it, if we're talking about like media and music and movies and stuff like that.
And it's so important too. You were talking like not just the clean water, but clean eating,
Yeah.
because, I always tell people, sugar is probably one of the worst things, but we know that sugar actually produces these byproducts that break up the collagen in your skin. And then it
Mm-hmm.
actually causes these chemical changes in the skin, and that can age you terribly.
Yeah. Dr. Betsy, I just sent you a little private chat, so check that out. And then we're going to bring up a question from Katie here. Yeah, I love you, Katie. You're in LA. I hope you're doing okay. So the fat in the coffee slows down metabolism of caffeine in your bloodstream.
Yeah, that's true. That's why, like,
Cool.
when you make the bulletproof coffee, when you just not just the coffee, but you add in the ghee or the oils, it will actually slow down the metabolism.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
neat. All right.
So, what other things can you talk about how to be the best version of ourselves?
Yeah, people always, we get caught up on, how do we look our best? How do we make sure? I mean, I didn't feel like doing my hair today. I just threw it in a side braid. I'm hanging out with a good friend like you, right? So we
Yeah.
don't always have to put all of this effort into like perfect makeup every day, perfect hair every day. Give yourselves a break. So when we're talking about our best version of ourselves, I'm going to tell a story. I get Instagram DMs all the time, that Rachel Varga official on Instagram, Facebook. Rachel, what has this celebrity done? Tell me what you think they've had done to their faces. So I recently did a video with Khloe Kardashian. It's just on my Rachel Varga YouTube channel, and I actually don't really like doing that stuff. And I'll kind of tell you why. Because it's funny, I'm really surprised that people still care what the Kardashians are doing to their faces every 5 minutes. And this is really important because we are in a time in the world where things are getting really heavy and really deep. But I also recognize that people want a little bit of distraction. So when I do these celebrity plastic surgery videos, you'll notice that, I'm not picking on the person. I'm simply talking about what I think that they've had done in regards to rejuvenation treatments, which I understand is very interesting for you guys. But for me to do it, it actually seems like really shallow. Just so you know that about me. It's like, oh, why is she talking about the Kardashians? That's why, it's because you guys want it. So in regards to being our best version of ourselves, you will honestly take the best selfie that you possibly can when, for example, you are in a place that makes you feel good, when you're doing something that makes you feel good. And those ones are the best, like the non-curated ones, because you got that look in your eyes, you got that shine in your eyes, just your whole like essence and being. The other day I was at just this incredible, I live on Vancouver Island, so I have access to these majestic forests, and we were going over this bridge. Oh my gosh, it was like dizzying how high it was. We're literally at the top of the trees here. and we look down and there's just these beautiful waterfalls. And I snapped a really beautiful photo of one of my besties and I, and we're just in the backwoods, dust all over us from all the dirt. And we look awesome because we're in our element. We're just having a good time. That's really key. So if you're, looking to cover up all these things on your skin, like red spots, brown spots, buying all these gadgets to promote collagen, do this other stuff first. It's free, but I mean, absolutely. When we're talking about some of my favorite skin tips, I have a really sweet download you guys can get at rachelvarga.ca. It's if you sign up for my newsletter, you will get a version of my treatment planning guide, which is just like tick, tick, tick. How do you itemize different treatments to get done, timing, all that cool stuff. It's like a little day planner for your in-clinic stuff. And then the sophisticated skin cheat sheet, which is basically my 5 steps that I think everybody should be doing. And I kind of expand on it in that download, but just great resources. That's really where you want to start. And then also making sure that things are customized. So with some of your conversations, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, I would say that you are also noticing the same thing, that it's all about going into aging using a highly customized approach. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I think, we all, because everybody's different in that you can't do things cookbook. So everybody really needs their own plan and what makes them feel good, what, people eat different foods and react different to different foods, not every skincare product is going to be great for everybody. So I think that definitely, having something that's customized to work the best for you is the way to go. I
Mm-hmm.
was thinking about your idea with the selfie, and I'm like, that's a really interesting way to actually look and just to demonstrate to yourself the effect of kind of your inner beliefs and your attitudes and emotions on radiance. Because if you take a selfie and just like, you could try it out a couple of things. You just take a selfie and then just kind of like think about being bored and see what your face looks like. Take a selfie and think about being like the saddest moment in your life and see what your face looks like. And then think about like the happiest moment in your life and take a selfie, and you will see the drastic change going through those emotions, how they can basically are portrayed in our behavior, in our facial expressions. So, trying to build a more vibrant life and being more in that here now mindfulness and happiness area can just do so much for your body and your skin.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. And getting back into the topic of customizing our approach to aging, this is really where things are going. It's not about just, I really want you guys to just become smarter consumers and really paving the way here for something called conscious beauty. And you guys watching this, like, you guys are in the right place. You guys are on the right track. You're working with us. So that's perfect. You guys are there. But a lot of people are still just, looking at what the celebrities are doing and trying to take that selfie and be like, I mean, they look like ridiculous. And they get their faces done. So they just look like they're cartoons. And then you see them in real life. You're like, whoa, something's weird there, right? I see it all the time. It's like, no, you do not want to have a Korean facelift if you're Caucasian. Trust me, I've seen it. And this is the trend right now with like that caricature look. And, do you
yeah.
seriously, like, how many women have you seen that you can tell that they take pride in looking after themselves, but they haven't overdone it? And then you see people that have overdone it. What would you say the differences are in those types of individuals? I'm just curious.
I mean, I think, definitely the person who's just themselves is probably the most, beautiful person on the face of the earth, is that inner confidence. Someone who's overdone and they look plastic and they got the duck lips, like it just looks so fake. And I know they think they
Yeah.
look good, but it's so awkward, and it almost makes me uncomfortable to see them like that, because it makes me almost feel like sorry for somebody that's doing that, because it's like, what inside of you are you not fulfilling that you're doing all this stuff to look so plastic Barbie
It's the
dollish.
why. Yeah, it's getting to the why of it. We
Yeah.
had a really interesting comment here from a male listener. I need tips on how to not hate seeing myself. I mean, this applies to both
Mm,
men and women. I avoid both cameras and mirrors when possible. I feel like the 40s have hit me hard. This is what I hear a lot of with men. Like I said before, I work with a lot of male celebrities. When they hit 40, they're meeting with me. Constantly feel ugly as a guy. I've never even thought of myself positively or negatively. Any tip is appreciated. Well, thank you so much, Colin, for just being very vulnerable with us and
yes.
sharing this, because this is something that, the fact that you've just said this is something that's weighing on your mind, and you've probably been looking for a place to share this and get some guidance on this. So what I could suggest is, book a session with me at rachelvarga.ca. I'm happy to dive into this further with you and give you some actual at-home and in-clinic strategies to really improve the health of your skin. But, men, just as much as women, we want to, we want to look as good as we feel, right? And the man that left that comment there, he's probably, relatively fit guy, looks after himself. And I see this a lot. Men in their 40s, it's just like, boom, aging, low brow, puffy lower eye bags, brown spots, like the sag, right? They just don't like look as good as they feel. So this isn't just like a women's thing. This is, any human.
Sure.
And okay, now we're going to get a little deep. This is the juicy stuff. This is what I love talking about. So I want you guys to find a mirror, and you can listen to this while you're doing this exercise. I want you to just find a mirror nearby and just look at yourself. Like, how often do we just look at ourselves in the mirror? And so look at your right eye. Just look at how beautiful your right eye looks. Notice the color of your eye, and then look at your left eye. And maybe that left eye looks very different. What's the feeling that you get when you look at yourself in the mirror? And then just look at yourself and just think of one thing that you are so proud of, that that your family, your loved ones, they love about you. One really beautiful, caring, conscious quality that you have. And I want you to focus on that and just really keep your mind at a place where it's positive self-talk. No one can take away your freedom in respects to how you think in your mind. This is very, very important for you to give yourself that positive self-talk and not feel self-conscious to look at yourself in the mirror. There's always something in the mirror that you can appreciate, whether it's, your cheeks or the color of your eyes or your hair, or your jawline, or your smile, or your lips, or something. Or maybe you have this really cool scar that you got doing something fun. Like, for example, I broke my finger playing football, and I kept playing, and I could look at it and think, oh, my finger is a bit jammed up and messed up. It's not perfect. Who cares? I had fun, right? It's just make sure that when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're giving yourself those positive comments. And if you're reading articles or you're on social media and you're just feeling inadequate or that fear of missing out, FOMO, just take yourself away from that. Like last night and today, I was on social media. I'm like, I feel like the world is just getting more chaotic. If we didn't think it was chaotic a couple months ago, I think it's just going to continue to move in that direction. So now more than ever, we need to be doing things that light us up, looking at yourself in the mirror and appreciating yourself. You might not be able to get those compliments from other people around you, or you might not want to ask about them, but there's always something about you. Say there's a skill that you have that you're really good at. Say, for example, you can build something, or you can figure something out, like technological wise, or, you can garden or anything, or you know how to fix stuff. Like, I mean, that's pretty cool. Focus on that, right? Do more of that. Focus on the things that light you up and bring you joy, and make that a priority. And if putting a skincare cream on your face makes you feel good, taking supplements that make you feel good, do it. Prioritize that. You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But you
I
feel.
think too. I mean, when you're looking in the mirror, just make yourself smile because there are chemical changes that actually happen in your body from a smile. Even if you don't feel like smiling, if you smile, not you will actually produce hormones that will make you feel happy. And if you see yourself smiling, that's even a stronger reaction that you're going to get in the body. I've even tried to tell my kids, like, when they talk to each other, they say words, but they the tone of voice is not good. There's a lot of negativity. And I'm
Mm.
like, guys, I want you to try saying the same thing and say it smiling. And you can't even, if you smile and try to say like the worst curse in the world, you can't even say it. And so, it's interesting because Botox didn't get approved for this, but a few years back, they tried to get approval for treatment of depression.
Mhm.
And I'm
I
like,
remember.
okay, how is Botox going to treat depression? Well, they found out accidentally that people that were getting Botox for their frown lines, because they couldn't physically frown, they actually reported being happier. And so I say a much cheaper way is just force yourself to smile. And that's like Rachel's been talking about, do the things that are free. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of us were from various different economical backgrounds. I work with a lot of men and women who are retired and they're on a pension. So they just need to be really laser focused with what they're doing to look after their skin. And I really like the idea of really looking at what facial muscle motions you are doing and noticing the mood that is correlated with that. So I mean, we got a doctor in the house, right? So let's bring a little science to this. So why don't Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, you tell us a little bit about hormones and how they can make us feel so much better?
So I think, one of the things you think about is, first, we're going to go probably into the ones that make you feel bad, is that before everything that's been going on with coronavirus, just in general, our life is so fast paced. And because it's fast paced, we make a lot of hormones of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the past, those hormones were meant to save us because, if a saber-toothed tiger was walking down the street, we wouldn't want to be like, oh, hi, kitty, kitty, because we'd be dead. So those hormones kick in for us to like fight, flight, or freeze to get the hell out of there away from that saber-toothed tiger. Well, now the problem is, so that's supposed to be a quick release of those hormones, then you go back to your baseline.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's life, we're under financial pressure, we're under work pressure. Now we're under, pressure from quarantine or coronavirus or, whatever else is going on in the world. And those hormones are staying elevated. And, it's something that it happens without us realizing it. And those hormones raise cortisol, and cortisol affects your aging terribly.
Oh, yeah.
It affects your immunity, it affects your skin, it affects your aging, it decreases your muscles, it increases fat in the body. So we need to now consciously find the things that light you up, that make you happy, because those things are going to basically, by putting yourself in a happier state, whether it's through mindfulness or meditation or saying positive things about yourself, because that actually can change your what's called neuroplasticity. It changes
Mm-hmm.
your neurologic pathways, so that the more positive things you say about, the better connections in your brain to where you really start to believe it and it becomes you. So doing those things not only will increase your health, but your radiance, and will, like we said, goes back to like the things that light you up. And
Mm-hmm.
affects your hormones in so many different ways, because those stress hormones take away from our sex hormones. So, we go down to like lowers your testosterone, lowers your estrogen, lowers your sex drive, lowers, muscle mass. So, we need to be doing things that really just kind of create happiness in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about EMS for a second here, because I feel like a completely different person when I am 2 hours out of any cell reception. My body actually craves this every week from me, to go where nobody is. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go by myself. And I saw two bears actually on, what was that? What was that, Saturday? I saw two bears. This is where I live, right? And there's nobody around. You're just in this forest, and there's actually a tree on one of my walks that you could go into. And it was as the opening was like as tall as I was. I could stand there and I was just cocooned by this tree. And it was the weirdest feeling. It was like, oh, that's what nothing feels like, right? Because we're so used to just having all these signals bombarding us. And when you take yourself away from that and get out in nature where nobody is around, when you're safely able to do so and allowed to do so for your own safety. Don't get me started on that. Why the provincial parks were opened a week after the malls were opened. I do not understand this because it's so key. So here I am with one of my best friends. We're in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours from cell reception. There is not a sound around you except the rustling of the trees, the birds. I mean, every now and again, let's just be real here. We'd hear some breathing or growling or like squawks from the forest. And that's either going to be a bear or a cougar. I mean, this is just a fact of where I live, but it's the excitement of it, right? It's so much fun. Okay, Len, it's time to go. We don't want to wait to find out what this is. But it's just stuff like that. That's what lights me up. Being in nature, exploring, and not being around any of this EMF stuff. And it's crazy when you really start to notice how different you feel. It's like, I feel like this is how we're supposed to feel as humans. Just this like nothingness, right? None of these other distractions of these artificial noises of cars and airplanes and sirens and all this stuff. Like, you guys really just get back to basics. That stuff is free and it's the best stuff.
I remember somebody told me once that their practice was to just go out every day and like walk barefoot in the grass. And so I actually tried that recently once it got warm enough here. And I was like, wow, my kids, we just dug a butterfly garden and they were like, can we walk in the mud before we put any of the plants in? And I was like, sure. And they were like walking and playing in the mud. And like years ago, I probably, as a mom, I'd be like, oh, don't get dirty. But they really have found that we need that dirt. We need that dirt microbiome to like, to that bacteria to be on our skin and in our lives to keep us healthy. And that we're so, at this point, we're like the Purell nation. We're like putting hand sanitizer on everything, where we really need to be exposed to the things in nature to be healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So if you guys don't yet know about grounding, oh my gosh, this practice is going to change your life. So you can do grounding in a number of different ways. Grounding is actually something that I actually need to do in order to survive and function and get in my creative space and just really like sort of like mute the other stuff in the world that don't matter, right? I mean, like the Kardashians. Let's just be real here. It's just get off your social media, get off all that stuff. That doesn't matter. There are things that you can do with your loved ones, with your community around you to help make the world a better place. Why should we be dumping all of our mental energy and capacity to getting caught up in the world when we can't do anything about it anyways? There are things that we can do that you actually don't need to leave your home for, right? It's like what you put your mental attention to, praying, things like that. I have so many friends in LA and I'm actually really quite worried about them right now. And one of them I haven't heard back from. So, and she's right in like Squid Row, right downtown, and I haven't heard from her. I'm like, I really hope she's okay. So nothing I can do. So I'm just going to pray for her and just get out in nature and just remove yourself sometimes. Just take a little bit of time to remove yourself and ground. So you can ground in many different ways, whether it's taking an Epsom salt bath. I have Himalayan salts as my night light so I don't get that blue light at the end of the day. I love that. Taking your shoes off, putting your feet on the ground to really just get that exchange of ions, because we can really build up, I believe we can build up protons, too many positive ions in our body, and it creates havoc because our bodies are full of electrical gradients. And if that gets off, it's going to obviously even mess up our hormones, which impacts our aging and our well-being. And so if you're feeling a little like wound up and frazzled, you got to do some of these grounding exercises, yoga, qigong, reading, taking that bath, putting that relaxing music on. Like, I love listening to music at, 432 hertz, 432 hertz. Love that. You know, if you can, if you have like a type of mentor that you work with, or a counselor, or a psychologist, doing check-ins with them every now and again is a really great idea as well. It's funny, the things that should light you up should really support your body, mind, spirit, energy practices as well, and your mental health.
I agree. I think those are all such wonderful suggestions. There's tons of different free or low cost apps for like mindfulness
Mhm,
or
mhm, definitely.
meditation. I do that. I listen to a lot of, because I tried to meditate myself and I couldn't do it because I had this idea of how it was supposed to be. And it just means sitting quietly. It doesn't have to be a certain way, but I like the guided meditations. And if you're like an Amazon Prime person, you can get a lot of them free on the Amazon Music. There's apps. I listen to a whole bunch of them. And with the EMFs, I switched from my wireless headphones to like the earphones I have in
I won't
now.
use them. I actually won't use those Bluetooth headsets, even
I
though like the media, they all want us to use them for interviews. I'm not like putting brainwaves between my head.
and
Sorry.
I love these ones too, because they're the speakers down in the bottom, and then there's
Yeah.
a tube almost like a stethoscope. These are Dr. Mercola's ones.
Oh,
So
cool.
I like these ones a
He's a
lot.
cool guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we
So
had a chance to hang out with Dr. Joe Mercola last summer.
yeah,
It was
really
like,
down to earth.
yeah, and the network that Dr. Betsy Greenleaf and I are connected to are just, people wanting to share great, helpful information. Just a sidebar, there's so much information that I want to share with people. But a couple of months ago, I started to. And then for some reason, I wasn't able to then link my website in any of my
Mhm.
social posts,
Mhm.
because this was like right before uh, the virus happened as well, and like increased censorship then too. So because I was doing a little audit of my social media, it's like, oh, this Kardashian thing is like drives me crazy, but you guys asked for it, so there you go. But it's like that stuff. Okay. We had a little question here. I've been struggling so much with the news, and I've been thinking about doing a social media detox. What are you? Oh, girl,
Oh,
yeah.
yes. I have. I honestly, I haven't even been on my social media at least 2 weeks now, and I haven't even checked the news in 2 weeks, and I can't tell you how much better my mood is. Because if something's really happening in the world, you'll know about it. Like
Mhm.
we're not completely like away, like 'cause somebody in your social network, whether it's a family member or friend, they're going to call you and tell you if something major is going on. So,
Yeah.
I had this fear that I was missing out, and I was like checking the phone and we're saying checking the phone before going to bed at night. And that blue light will actually affect your melatonin production and affect your sleep cycle.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I swear by my red light in the morning and evening, just like that signal. Okay, it's time to just like, right? Okay, so social media detox. Katie Moore is in Summer Skin Camp with me because we're also going live for this recording. And what have I done? The last two live sessions, Saturday morning in Summer Skin Camp. You guys know this. I'm going out in the woods all day. I'm not coming back home until 8 or 9 at night. And I'm going about 2 to 3 hours into the bush where there's no cell reception. There's bears and cougars. I saw two of them within 20 minutes last weekend. But that's how I do it. I turn the phone off as well. So there's no EMFs that way. And I find that I have to actually for my sanity. And then I come back home and it's almost like I'm blissed out. It's like the state of bliss when you are in these places where there's no reception or EMFs. It's just crazy. It feels very foreign, and it's just worth sharing that, that's how I'm feeling.
I think too, I saw a study not too long ago about increased risks of depression with actively being on social media. Because unfortunately, we're human. It's natural for us to compare ourselves, and to kind of model ourselves after what we see. Well, unfortunately, there can be a lot of negativity out there, especially on the social media, and that can really start affecting your mood, which and then can affect your life and your health and your wellness and your immunity. So I think that the least amount of time that you spend on in social media, the better. I mean, if you go on it from time to time as entertainment, but if you pay attention, if you know it's affecting your mood, then it's not good. Just in general, like with my kids being homeschooled right now, like they get done with their school work so fast, and then they have all these hours to fill. I'm like, be a kid, go outside. Like I've instituted no electronics, no tablet, no TV, no computers. Just get outside and be a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit of a dichotomy. So I feel a little bit torn between this.
Yeah.
So I'm checking in with my mom. I'm saying, hey, mom, I'm going into the woods. This is the trail I'm going to be on. If you don't hear from me by 8 or 9 o'clock, send the recovery team. You do have to think about these things when you go to the places where I go. You got to tell people where you're going to be. So if you need some help getting out of there, they know where you are because there's no reception. It's not like, oh, got a flat tire. Can you give me the lift? There's nobody around, right? So then when I get home, she's like, oh, by the way, did you know that SpaceX launched the first commercial manned aircraft? It's like, things are just getting weirder. What? This happened today? Like during this? And then there's all these riots? It's like, so I want to do my due diligence and like catch up and see what's going on. But is that actually helpful for me? I would say no. But yes, we want to know what's going on so we're up to speed with current events. And for me, I'd much rather have wonderful conversations with leading health experts like yourself, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, the first board-certified urogynecologist in the USA. Like that is a big freaking deal. I'd rather have these kind of conversations and learn about how we can promote health within ourselves and with others. And then we learn at the same time. And we're getting this almost like healing download when we tune into the Sum of Your Parts podcast, which is your podcast, and my podcast, the Rachel Varga podcast, right? There are really good forms of social media out there. And then there's just the scrolling and you feel like you got to catch up. And that's just kind of like my personal internal struggle. And I think it's about time that we just start showing up in our truest self. Not that like, let's be authentic, right? JJ Virgin, I interviewed her on the podcast and she said, I don't understand why people say, just be authentic. It's like, you will be your most authentic self. I like to use the word truest when you are balanced with your body, mind, spirit, energy. You're doing things that light you up. You are becoming your greatest version. You are going to be your most radiant version when you are in that space.
This is really wonderful. Do you have any final tips on what we need to do to be our best, or things that we haven't brought up so far?
Well, I mean, we've been chatting for 40 minutes.
I could go for hours. I know that's
lifetime's worth of things that I would just love to share. I would just really encourage all of you guys listening to just take notice and inventory of things that you might be spending your time and attention on that just aren't constructive. They're just not doing anything positive for you. In fact, they're just wasting your time. And really start to pay attention to your loved ones around you, your family, your loved ones, the beautiful flowers. These orchids, by the way, have been going on almost, I think, 4 months now. I usually kill orchids in a week. So I don't know. I think it's my red light therapy, but that's a whole other topic. But just do things that in general light you up. And when it comes to wanting to, improve your health on different levels, we have Dr. Betsy Greenleaf here, first ever board certified female urogynecologist in the States. If you have any, sexual health, aging, pelvic health concerns, definitely follow you. And then for me, obviously I talk about skin, and we're putting out tons of free stuff just to help you guys out, especially right now.
This has been great. Thank you so much.
Yeah. We just had a final question come in here from Katie Moore. Thank you both for such great advice on this. I'm inspired to be a creator instead of a consumer on social media right now. Yeah, but at the same token, I mean, I was having this struggle yesterday too. It's like, do I want to post to like show people that I know what's going on too, and like come up with this like photo of myself and create this like really witty description? It's like, who cares? Who cares, right? I'd rather do like a video or audio thing where you can actually really get some type of helpful information out of it. Yeah, this is a really fun conversation.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. And so where can people find you, Dr. Betsy Greenleaf?
They can find me at drbetsygreenleaf.com and also Some of Your Parts podcast, and follow me on social media. And where can we find more information about you?
Yep. At Rachel Varga Official, Facebook, Instagram. Just search my name on YouTube. The Rachel Varga podcast is like, that is one of my favorite things I'm doing. And if you have any questions in regards to at home or in clinic skin rejuvenation, just book a call with me. RachelVarga.ca. Summer Skin Camp's on now. I have a great ebook. But yeah, I'd say start with that one-on-one if you're like, oh, what should I really be doing? How do I customize what I'm doing so I stop wasting time and money? I've got you.
Today's episode was brought to you by the Pelvic Floor Store, your source for personal health. You can find us at www.pelvicfloorstore.com. For more information on today's episode and women's wellness, please go to drbetsygreenleaf.com.